Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. This will be a podcast of epic proportions. Because tonight, David and the Reverend Jeff are taking on the woo-woo Bigfoot. Telepathy, invisibility, interdimensionality, telekinetic weaponry, and the UFO connection. And that's just one man's idea of what Sasquatch actually is. I'm not joking. And teleported directly from an omnidimensional plane. The Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Welcome, everybody, to the Squatchers Lounge podcast, and I am indeed teleported in from an interdimensional place to join you right here. Yeah, we're a couple hours late tonight. We don't really give a crap. That's what makes it a podcast. Sorry that we are getting started so late, but tonight's topic is going to be just a lot of fun. With me, as usual, sitting over here next to me is Father David Batdorf. How you doing, sir?
Good, just fresh off of work, ready for this. I've been thinking about this one for a couple days, and we'll see what comes out. But first, you got some news?
I do. For some strange reason, I actually thought it was important.
Weird.
This is the Squatchers Lounge News, bringing you the very latest from BigfootEvidence.blogspot.com, MoldersWorld.com, and Reverend Jeff's The Fringe News.
So, yeah, there you have it, folks. We're going to do some news tonight, and it's kind of interesting. I picked up a bunch of good stuff that was going on. Apparently, there's a bunch of bipedal bears going around in the news, and I dug a bunch of these little boogers up. It happens from time to time when you're running around. These things they're hurt, they're whatever. There's a reason that they're walking around on two legs and not on four, but this is not a Bigfoot. Okay, it's cool, but it's not walking on two legs. It's waddling on its its hindquarters. I mean, that's really not walking. This poor guy, he's really got a busted up arm there. He's not even able to use any weight on it, poor thing. Everybody's making him, dogs harassing him, look how skinny he is, too.
Yeah, that's a hard injury for a bear, because they have to travel.
Yeah, they do. They travel a lot to follow the food sources, and this poor guy's in the neighborhoods because he can't feed himself. And, well, in this type of situation, this kind of animal needs to be culled. I'm sorry, because it's going to become dangerous. The more hungry it gets, the closer it's going to get to your homes and your animals, become a danger to people. And, for God's sakes, there's 40,000 black bears in California, people. There's 20,000 black bears in New Jersey, okay? It's okay to cull one or two of these things when they're running around your neighborhood all broke up. But apparently LiveLeak found another one. This was a completely different bear that popped up on my feed as well. This poor guy's out at dusk now. The other guy was out during the middle of the day. This guy's out at dusk, which would be more appropriate for him to be out, garbage raiding. But
looks like we lost it and went back to you, Jeff.
Oh, well, okay. Well, sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
You can't feed them all, I tried to go full screen on it for you, and, well, that just didn't work out so good. So, hey. Maybe that'll do it for you. Who knows? But the bipedal bear thing is not the first time we've ever seen these things. It happens a lot. Nothing to be too concerned about. You see one of these things, don't approach it, that's for sure. Don't want to be hanging out with it too much. They can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it's usually indicative that there's something wrong, for one, and for two, so we know that bears can do this. This is not it's not a surprise to us, this is something that they're able to do. But again, is that a Sasquatch? Is that what they're proposing? Well, that's not what we're seeing. And if it's got ears and a snout, maybe
it doesn't look like a man.
This could account for some dogman sightings or something like that.
And just, being Johnny on the spot, of course, Dr. Meldrum throws up from his field guide here how to tell the difference between a Sasquatch and a black bear, just so you were talking about. Got some ears.
Oh, wait, it's the snout and the fact that its arms can't actually swing behind itself at all?
Right, there's a lot of reasons that bears are not Sasquatch, but I thought those were quite interesting coming up, the bipedal bears.
There's a lot of arrows there.
Yeah, there's a lot of arrows trying to point to all kind of reasons that they can't be bears aren't Sasquatch, but thanks, Dr. Meldrum. Now, since we've got Dr. Meldrum up and he's helping everybody out, apparently there's this thing. This thing is apparently a foot that was discovered that people were trying to say was a possible Bigfoot foot. Did you see the stories of this poor thing?
I did, and that's actually like this is a great example, especially like it would be really difficult to in the field like to find out what this was. This would be really confusing until you look at there's that T and the F and the red down there, the tibia and fibia, to understand that like our large toe, our biggest digit is on the inside, but if you look at the tibia and fibia of this animal, their main digit is that small toe, the inside digit. So it's like this is a great learning tool. Like why we should, if you ever found something intact like this, there where our big toe is the little toe on a bear, and that's something that's really important to ruling out stuff. Because if you see tracks that go consecutive, one versus the other, and it looks like the feet are backwards, you got yourself a bear.
Right. Now if you take this thing and you twist it backwards, isn't that like the Unga Bunga from over there in the jungle? Didn't it have its feet turned on backwards?
Yeah. Yeah, or yeah. No, it looks like Sam Squinch put his shoes on the wrong feet.
Yeah, that's right. Now, of course, now being Johnny on the spot, he's got to set up here. We've got a nice comparison between a human foot and a bear foot and why they're different, just like we were talking about the digit being the long ones being, short on the bear and long on the human, but yet the bone structure is very, very similar between a bear and a human when you're looking at the skeletal setup of it. However,
it's a terrestrial mammal foot. I mean, you look at a chipmunk and the actual bone structure is very similar. It's just different size and slightly different shape. Yeah,
they were all the same creature and just developed separately into the lines that they're in. So of course, a 5-digit limb is a 5-digit limb is a 5-digit limb, as we find all the way across the line. 2 bones down to a bunch of little bones down to big long bones. That's kind of the way that worked out. And biology, one rule to rule them all. So don't be surprised if you find this type of thing in the woods, but at least deduce it correctly. And I'm so glad Dr. Meldrum was here to help us with all of this. Now, this particular post I actually found in the Coalition page, and there were some questions about, well, if he's so willing to tell us about fakes, possibly he could tell us about this one. We're kind of still waiting for Dr. Meldrum to comment on, how fake this particular picture might be versus that
non-blinky.
Yeah, I mean, you're quick to throw out the, hey, that's fake. But yeah, we're still waiting for you to give us a delineation on this one. That's kind of my thoughts on it.
The thing about being a physical anthropologist, like you can't comment on that because it's a Muppet face. Like, well, it's like
the put it.
I can't develop any sort of good opinion based on the lack of data in that photograph. But I do see a lot of Ralph the dog, which I do enjoy.
That's I can't help
the super enhanced version. But I think that again, like what he's talking about with the feet and the bones, and it's poignant and it's important for us to know. So when you find something, you could actually look at, if you found, even if the tibia and fibia aren't there, and you look at how the joint attaches. I mean, those are important things to kind of log. If I found something and I think it's a Sasquatch foot, well, maybe you can recall that information. Or maybe you don't, whatever. But still, the physical anthropology is about the study of the physical bones and muscles and tissue versus a face of something we've never seen.
Exactly. And, skipping on to the last of the news tonight here. Now, the Bigfoot chasers are back after a 7-month hiatus. The guys are back. Joe and Craig are out doing tree knocks. For 1-minute episodes, these guys are hysterical, and I want to see more. I really hope that somebody picks these kids up and does something with them before poor Craig outgrows his boxer shorts there. That poor kid, he's gonna need a new wardrobe. Last year they were like 2 inches below the knee. He's growing so daggone fast. 7 months have passed. Looks like they had to get him a whole new wardrobe.
That's good times. We're gonna have to check that out. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. Now, okay, somebody posted up this monster back. Now, this was released December 2013. Again, from our least favorite science source, the Ancient Origins site. The oldest human DNA reveals mysterious branch of humanity. Now,
I have not read into this article, but yes, mysterious branch of humanity. There is a potential based on the genetic variances from the Denisovan DNA that says that there could be another basically like another geographical variant, or something like, if Denisovan is different than Neanderthal, then there might be a third branch of that delineation, but not necessarily our own, aside from the fact that we share traits of all of those blanketed in. I don't know what this particular article says. I did follow that when it first came out. And
Yeah.
AncientOrigins.net or whatever this is not my favorite source for all of this stuff, because the mysterious branch of humanity. No, it's basically really boring statistical variance shows that there may be another another branch, which makes it
there could be 100 more branches.
It could be completely possible that we found one more of like 7 more branches, but again, you can't speculate that
Until you find the data for it.
Unless you own a website that has human origins, myths, ancient places, technology, unexplained, video, and opinion.
There you go. Opinion. We've got to check out the opinion section of Ancient
Yeah,
Origins.
the opinion section on Ancient Origins.
Has to be absolutely fantastic. And finally, wrapping up the news tonight, congratulations, our boy Stacy Brown. Well, our boy Stacy Brown, winner of the Bigfoot $10 million Spike TV's Bigfoot Bounty grant, actually got himself a sponsor with Night Owl Optics. And he's going to be sporting the Night Owl optics on his dart gun, trying to catch himself some Bigfoot DNA. So we wish you luck out there, Stacy. We know it's not cheap to fly around the country and do this stuff, man. So, heads up and, be safe. Good to see what's going on out in the world of Bigfooting today, eh, David?
It's good. I actually count on this to kind of clue me in, because I've been out of touch recently. What are you going to do?
Hey, it's not a problem. We'll forgive you. You only got a brand new baby, a real life, a job, we can kind of figure out that it's going to be okay. Hey, I haven't really been too vocal about what's been going on over the last couple of weeks, but I think it's time for a Reverend Jeff sermon for everybody.
Oh, good Lord!
Yeah, it kind of leads into tonight's topic, and I've kind of got to discuss this for a moment as to what went on. Apparently, one is not free to express one's ability to think appropriately inside of the Bigfoot community Facebook group. I had been singled out and actually removed from the group by one Tom Cantrell for basically replying to his snippy comments on my post about why he was attacking me. And I was ejected from the group. Now, I was kind of disappointed in this because I've always been an open-minded type of person who deals with the woo-type community and their thoughts on the matter. And I've always tried to get close to some of these people to maybe get a better understanding of where their belief system comes from, where their experiences come from, and maybe understand, that there's a different way of looking at things. But every time I get close to these people, I just keep getting shut down and kicked away. So I went ahead and I applied to the High Council of the Bigfoot community.
The High Council.
Yeah, apparently there's a High Council of the Woo Bigfoot community who will take upon your ejection from the group under a formal consideration process, I guess.
Tribunal, if you will.
Yeah, a tribunal, if you will. I called it a court case, and no, I was shut down. I didn't need a lawyer. This wasn't anything legal. It was just deliberations would have to be done. And they kept coming back to me and asking for my sides of the story and why I had admins blocked. And, well, to be honest with you, I didn't have any of their admins blocked. Their admins had me blocked. Now, I can't really control who the hell blocks me, so if you can't see my posts, I have 5 people blocked on my list, and none of them are woo people. So if you can't see my posts, that's on you. So they couldn't find a reason to kick me for that, but because I bucked against the great Tom Cantrell with the statement of people who live in glass houses perhaps should not throw stones, meaning don't attack me and I won't attack your concepts, when he was attacking the Bluff Creek Project's camera project going on at the site of the Patterson film site, when I simply said that I've actually visited the site, Tom. From what I understand, the bridge is some 3 miles away from the actual film site, and mine speak for me wasn't working. So that's pretty much why my ejection from the Bigfoot community came about. And it was up until last Wednesday that I was still right before the podcast trying to find out whether they were going to allow me back into the group, seeing as how I had done nothing to be ejected from the group. But because the man who ejected me from the group also sits upon the High Council of Woo, Mr. Tom Cantrell, I was finally, after the podcast last week, I was finally denied re-entrance into the group, and my ban will now stay. So saith the council, so saith it will be. And I just really gotta tell you, my patience with you people are about done. If you want to start slinging crap, you know, Reverend Jeff's got plenty of crap to sling. Your names come up a lot around the campfire with people you've been dealing with for years and years, and it ain't always nice. I'm not one to spread rumor or innuendo. I'm just telling you at this point, old Reverend Jeff here wants you to leave him the hell alone, and I'll do the same. But I'm going to freely discuss the topics of woo without worrying about whose toes I step on anymore.
This sermon was brought to you by the Reverend Jeff Kelly. May the Squatch be with you.
Suck it! This is the Squatchers News, bringing you the very latest from BigfootEvidence.blogspot.com, MoldersWorld.com, and Reverend Jeff's The Fringe News.
Well, we can go directly to the news.
Yeah, well, no, it wraps it up for the news tonight. That was all in the deal of it. You know, I'm tired of hiding from the topics of woo, and that's exactly what we're going to be discussing tonight. Where do we start with all this, Matt David? What is your favorite topic of woo?
Oh, like there's so much, like it's hard to even know where to start, but I think we should just kind of go through and piece by piece just talk about, you know, there are people out there that are listening that don't really know a lot of the attributes that people are espousing to Sasquatch, like, you know, the things that their abilities and the things that they can do that are outside the realm of normal physics. Yeah. And a lot of people like say, well, you know, the people don't understand. It's quantum. Well, quantum is just a way of saying theoretical physics. It's like something that mathematically works, but can't be proven because we can't test it. So it's something that's like hypothetically, like this could be, and then you work it through, and mathematically this works. And physically that explains this, but you can't test it, so that's where it ends. So basically, it's another thing, like a lot of, like, you know, that it can just be accepted because you can't test it. So it's perfect. It's the ultimate kind of, you know, like, well, I don't have to explain myself because you can't test this and you can't qualify it anyway because it's quote unquote quantum. I'm not saying that quantum physics is using that as an excuse. Well, some of the shows that are, you know, like, you know,
well, they always ask
science
questions.
of the future and
right, but they're not making statements. Those people are asking questions. If you watch those shows, and I've been really keying in on these docutainments here lately, they're always, you know, what if the ancient aliens landed and helped these people and gave them their knowledge? What if those people then took that knowledge and passed it on for generations? Somehow it was lost. Really? What if? That's all they're asking. But these guys aren't saying what if. So let's start out with one of my biggest favorite topics would be the mind-speaking Sasquatch. Now, for those people who are out there who's never come across anyone who has the woo stories of Sasquatch, you guys are probably familiar with my Bigfoot campfire stories. Over the last 20 years, I have talked to people, woodsmen, trappers, old people, Native Americans, you name it, and I've collected this large deposit of stories that I pull from to bring those stories out to life. Now, I have been rarely exposed to the woo type of story, but basically, mind-speaking Sasquatch are able to communicate and convey thoughts to humans over any distances that they so choose once you have been selected to receive those mind-speak communications. So
yeah, and the as far as it's been explained to me, the only way to be open to such communications is to come with an open mind, an open heart, and a pure spirit. Now, what kind of like pretentious bullshit is that? Like, I'm sorry, like to be I got a pretty high opinion of myself sometimes, but that's crazy. Like I'm so clean inside that that Sasquatch will accept me. That's
that immediately, it puts them on that high horse immediately. Bigfoot mind speaks to me, so I am better than you. You should listen to me and follow me because I am now a Bigfoot cleric.
But that's not something that I'm espousing to a particular person. That's just kind of like generalized in a lot of that's how people say, well how? Well, it's because of these traits of myself that I get to be spoken to, which is just it's a curious correlation that you can draw. Like again, I do my sciencey thing, which this isn't necessarily science, it's more like at this point is a journalistic approach to things. You take all of this stuff together and you draw a correlation because you've been told this from so many places, from so many websites, so that's kind of how I've developed my idea of some of these woo things. But Mindspeak is a phenomenal starting point for this conversation because there's a lot of different possible aspects to how somebody could have this experience, not just
right, because you have different types of the mind speak experience. You have where I've heard the stories of you're laying in your tent at night, all peaceful and of good spirit, and your mind is clear and your heart is pure, and the Sasquatch actually approach your tent, and they'll place their hand under your tent and under your pillow and cup your brain skull cap in their hand and actually transfer your thoughts into theirs and read your mind speak all of your whatever, all of your experiences, your memories, whatever they want, they can just take it from you by touching your mental hand through the tent, to all the way of, next week's topic of Kawani, who seems to be able to just sit in peace and meditate and receive important messages from the Sasquatch people. So even the Mindspeak people don't agree.
Well, and again, there, with all the Sasquatch reports, you expect there to be like a degree of differentiation, in the way that people perceive that sort of information. But when it's something as non-calculable as let's say two people see a Sasquatch, and one person you do this ape versus person argument. Like one person sees a Sasquatch and say, well, that's an ape with human-like characteristics, and somebody else says that's a human with ape-like characteristics. I can understand that argument. It's by side. It's just your experience and what you're seeing and how you process that information. But with the Mindspeak thing, to have a differentiation in how it's even delivered is problematic, because we don't even understand the construct of how that can work. They've done a lot of tests and studies on
the men who stare at goats and remote viewing and all of that type of thing.
I think it was ASU did a bunch of stuff on okay, well, if they set two people that knew each other in different rooms and totally sensory deprivation chambers, and showed one a picture of something, could the other person could sometimes come up with that picture. Well, but they could never prove that in a study because there's no apparatus. There's no
right. You're gonna randomly be right every once in a while, anyhow.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? So your positive results are skewed just by the basis of the test at the beginning. So we've got mind speak Sasquatch out there. Now, that's different than the mind shock Bigfoot. I mean,
well, no. So there's a differentiation there, but the mind speaking Bigfoot, like let's just say that there's two, like the people who get the messages in, it's always, the Sasquatch are trying to help us, or they're worried about us as a people, and they're concerned about the way that we're treating nature, and they're trying to help the people in those situations. So again, this is a really internalized thing, and a lot of these people have degrees in psychology and cultural.
Yeah, that's
so like that. How can you not kind of interpret that as an internal function versus like an external function focusing on you?
right. I mean, if you're capable of receiving mind speak communications, then something about your brain should be measurably different than someone who can't. There should be a way to scientifically detect the difference in someone who can. What's the psychological term? It's not psychokinesis. It's
like
speaking. Yeah.
Telekinesis or.
No, telekinesis is moving stuff with your mind.
Oh.
Anyhow, you get my point. It's so strange and out there to hang on to that somebody who has a psychological background that would go so far out there in public. I mean, some of these people are just like blatantly out there writing books on the topic. Now, granted, those people who are of the mind speak book writing camp, I don't believe, are actively working in psychological clinical positions, if I'm not mistaken. Did you know of any, David, that are actively working?
Not currently.
Yeah, I mean, so we're not talking about people who have a practice and they're speaking of the mind speak of Sasquatch.
So there's this a psychokinetic mind speaking where you can transfer thoughts back and forth through and have a conversation, which really it shatters our whole concept of self and sapience and all sorts of other things. Like, just it doesn't work. Internalized thought and so there's a lot of people who are really interested in what do they call it? Like the group mind, like where I can have a thought and it transfers to everyone around me.
The hive mind, the hive mentality.
And other things like that. Like, even without being seen, I can transfer my thoughts to other people. Well, that's cool, but we're still talking about an undiscovered primate, and we need to focus on that first before we focus on this other thing that even within people that are readily studyable, and we've tried, again, Arizona State University has done a lot of these things, we can't prove. So let's focus on what's important here.
And that's
but then it brings you go into the psychokinesis to telekinesis and the physical aspect of the mind and the zapping and other things like that.
Yeah, the mind zapping the mind. Now, this isn't infrasound. This is completely different. The mind zapping is literally like they're able to crush you emotionally so badly that you turn into a puddle of mud right where you stand, and you lose all ability and faculties to maintain your consciousness or ability to think or render yourself useless, I guess. I mean, it's almost like a superpower. Like, they're going to render you useless so they can get away. I believe there's a video out on YouTube from not too long ago that somebody was actually induced into a heart attack or something while they were being mind zapped. You remember that one, David?
Wow. Yeah. But again, the difficult part about all this stuff, and the woo and the fringe. This is past fringe and into woo, right? It's hard to it's like the ghost hunting thing. How can you take an experience that you had and share that in a meaningful way with somebody else? Well, everybody's experience is objective. like, so if somebody is going to have like an acute medical condition or something like that, they're going to experience things that they've probably never experienced before, unless that's not their first heart attack. You're going to experience things that you've never experienced before, and depending on the subconscious background thought, which is Bigfoot, like, is this something that can be brought into that experience? Well, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying it's improbable. But when you're out there and you're thinking about Bigfoot and you're thinking about a telekinetic Bigfoot, and something weird happens to you, or you get freaked out and your adrenaline pumps and you feel that gland squish in your brain, and then all of a sudden you feel crazy, like, and your body tingles and you feel sick to your stomach and all of that stuff because of, like, fear or excitement or all these other things. How are you going to perceive that when you're out there? So it's hard to differentiate between the two, which could be an actual event and what could be somebody freaking out in the woods. I actually had an experience the other day where I was I was tired, I was driving, it was early in the morning, and like it must have been the radio kind of stopped for a second and it came back and it was really loud, like what I was listening to, and I had this whole jolt of just adrenaline because I was really tired and I was half asleep on the road, which, if you're tired, don't drive anyway.
That's a bad idea, yeah.
Yeah, but I literally just felt this rush of chemicals into my body. I knew exactly what it was because I knew exactly what started it. It was, a song started, and after this long pause, and I was just zoned out, and it felt really weird. It feels like an electrical shock, but if I had experienced that right after a twig snapped or something happened in the woods and Bigfoot was on my mind and kind of had an episode, like a panic attack because of that, because of the induced chemicals, would that not have just made sense at that time to me, and then that becomes my experience?
Right. And when you go back and you look at the experience that you had in particular, I understand that it might be unlike any other experience that you've heard of before. It doesn't mean that everything that happened to you in that experience was related to the sighting of the Bigfoot. I mean, just if you happen to see a black helicopter fly by the meadow that a Bigfoot, happened to be walking across at the time, it doesn't mean that the military was actively hunting Bigfoot. It just means that you happen to be in a meadow where two convergences of crap you never see happen to be converging on each other. So
and
basically,
on the next ridgeline, they're growing a bunch of marijuana, and the black helicopter's going there.
Right. I mean, you happen to get struck by lightning twice in the middle of winning the lottery is basically what that situation would be. But a lot of people run to the supernatural explanations because Bigfoot isn't supernatural enough for them, and that's one of my things that I can never get onto. And let's go on to the next topic at hand. I guess would be cloaking. Some people attribute the fact that Sasquatch can literally just either step into an interdimensional portal and vanish from our sight, or somehow initiate a cloaking sequence upon them where they're physically still here, but we can't see them.
So I was listening to an interview on YouTube. It's out there if you really want to listen to it. But where I heard both from the same person, experiences of both things. One, of a Sasquatch stepping into kind of a blurry, circular, oblong portal, almost sideways out of exit stage left. And another where the Sasquatch, and this is where I have a problem with this statement too, but somebody who was a lady was being molested by Sasquatch at night, and saw the invisible hand, for one, come up and cup her breast, which, okay, so you saw the invisible hand.
Yeah.
therefore it's not invisible.
Right.
But also, Sasquatch was able to not only so you have to use a portal to get into this other dimension. You can make yourself invisible within the dimension that we're in, and was able to phase through a wall and rematerialize and reappear on the other side of that wall. So able to utilize apparently that other dimension to dematerialize and rematerialize, phasing through a wall.
That sounds like a hairy succubus to me. I mean, or an incubus. I can't remember which one. The succubus, I think, is the male. So, yeah, it sounds like a hairy succubus to me more than it sounds like a Sasquatch story or a Bigfoot tale or a Bigfoot encounter. I just, what would make one have to attribute that to Sasquatch?
So, if you think about the actual fundamentals of being able to, to shift into another dimension using a portal, you actually have to be able to identify and utilize or rip these interdimensional portals into space-time at will.
Right, with no giant energy source. You can't figure out how to collide two particles
no
together.
Source other than your own brain,
right.
Which doesn't put your brain is an amazing thing, and it puts out a lot of a lot of crazy stuff, but it does not put out enough energy into the omniverse, the multiverse, if you will, to put you into another dimension. Say you need something like the supermassive black hole, and potentially mathematically that would work, but we still can't prove that because there's no thing that we can shoot into a black hole that's going to really give us any data back.
Right.
Another dimension.
Yeah, it's not a problem with getting it into the black hole. It's getting it the hell back out to get the data off. It seems to be the problem we're having.
The problem number one with the interdimensional Sasquatch is that they can phase in and out using these portals. And there's people that say, well, I find portals all the time. It's like, well, then
go through one.
Try it. Just stick a hand through, see what happens. But you don't know how to use them. Well, okay, that's fine. Or take your favorite quantum physicist from television, and bring them to that portal, because let me tell you, that's worth a lot more money than Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, if you can prove that there's another dimension, there's billions of dollars worth of development there.
Hey, I have this piece of property, and on it is an interdimensional portal. Which that sort of greed factor is why I don't think that sort of thing happens on a regular basis in regular places and on the planet Earth, because there's not enough energy. And okay, so anyway, people who want to entertain the intergalactic theories, that's fine. So you have the portal theory, and then you have the invisibility theory, which to be able to see something when it's invisible isn't actually invisible.
It's refracted light. Well, just like the Humboldt County episode of Finding Bigfoot that old Reverend Jeff's hat and back happened to be starring in the pub scene. They chose to take a story of a predator squatch and 1,000 squatches in the tree, on the tree limbs, over some more credible stories that were there. So even, Finding Bigfoot is starting to jump into the woo topics, I guess, trying to stir up ratings.
The predator squatch, or the refracted light, where you can make out the outline or the halo, but you can't see the thing itself, is an interesting concept, because we have, people always say, well, we have this digital camouflage technology that can do that or whatever, but the actual physical hairs on a person or a physical body aren't going to be able to accomplish what that piece of gear is doing.
And it does it for 12 seconds, and it's hooked up to a battery source that's being carried by a truck. I mean, again,
I've always said, the only way for a Sasquatch to be able to cloak itself in this predator manner or whatever is to basically project, if they're psychokinetic and they can actually get into your mind, project that they're not actually there in their own image in your own mind, but you can't prove that. So again, you're at this impasse, and it's just not something that happens? Or is it a memory of, maybe you saw one but you didn't want to see one, so your brain remembers it as this patch of something that isn't there. Like there's explanations for how this potentially could happen, but just having the Sasquatch put up an energy field to refract light, well, that doesn't actually work because light, it's energy. It has to go somewhere, and to reflect it back to you, it would just be a dark spot. It would be black, and it would be easily pick out.
Right. They literally would have to project whatever your eyeballs would see that would be behind them to in front of them to fool you as though they're not actually there, which is still going to screw with your depth perception because they're projecting it probably, 8 or 10 feet forward of what it actually is, so you're probably still going to see a blur of whatever the hell is in front of you. They can't make a tank disappear behind a green screen that way. You can tell it's a green screen. For the same reason that a Sasquatch wouldn't be able to make just some random energy field poof up and make them disappear.
Well, exactly. And like I say, unless it's actually like sending light back to your eyes, like in the physical aspect, like it would, if they were somehow able to like, distract the light, it would show up as black.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
It would be like the most blackest black you've ever seen. Like it's not reflecting any of the light right there. And that would be a pretty terrible camouflage because that's black. Actually, they say like, black is not a color you should use in the woods. It's like wearing white, Yeah,
exactly. You want things to break up your profile and things as you're moving through the woods. Now, one of the questions I've always had for the woo-woos is a cloaked Sasquatch. Now, if a cloaked Sasquatch is cloaked internally and he loses a hair, does the hair stay cloaked? Does each individual hair have a cloaking system, or?
Like with all of this, like if they're phasing in and out of dimensions, if they're cloaked or whatever, while they're in this dimension and while they're whether they're visible or not, do they still have mass? Which also would indicate weight, which would also give
if they're capable of cupping a breast, well, they would have mass. In that case, where she was being molested by the invisible Bigfoot, I would say that they would definitely be able to. They wouldn't be a ghost. They would have to have. So boy, that is a good question. There's so many things that go along with a lot of this woo stuff that. Man, I mean, all right, we've got to touch on it because we're already 45 minutes into the show, dude. I knew this was gonna like just go wild. We could go on this forever. We have to cover the UFO connection. Now, there are people used to laugh at me. Bigfoot hunter, ha ha ha. There's no such thing as Bigfoot out there. Why don't we ever see one? And I used to laugh. I'm telling the reason we don't find Bigfoot is because when he's done whatever he's doing, he gets in his spaceship and he flies home. Now, I would tell people that just to get a laugh out of them. It's not what I actually believe. But there are some people out there, and it wasn't the Ancient Alien guys who started this, who literally always seem to have some type of a paranormal or UFO type of connection when a Bigfoot encounter happens. Now, you're familiar with those, right?
There's two schools of thought on this. One is the actual like spacecraft coming down and Sasquatch being related to that, whether or not Sasquatch was attracted to that phenomenon or whatever, or they're actually related. Like Sasquatch is getting in and out of the UFO. That's been reported as well, or that with all of their psychokinetic and telekinetic powers, they're able to create light orbs.
Light orbs. Yeah,
yes.
I've heard that a lot lately.
Yeah, and you can send that out into the forest or up into the sky, and so these light orbs, which some people misidentify as UFOs, apparently, could be really just they're not a UFO. It's just Sasquatch creating a light orb as some sort of like, signal.
Well, didn't they also attribute the light orbs to crop circles? So are crop circles Bigfoot light orbs trying to communicate what Kalani's been trying to tell us all along, and we're just too damn stupid to learn it?
Yes.
Here's the short. Yes, that's what it comes down to.
Short answer, yes.
There's the theories out there that, Sasquatch are deposited here from their home planet as exiled criminals, dismissed from their home world. And it's just like, why here?
Yeah, well, yeah, like, and there's the late Lloyd Pies theories. We won't say anything bad about him here. But like, and some of those theories that, the Anunnaki and other, ancient origin theories. That's a whole nother like section of woo, like where it's not. But the woo-woos, I think, like have a very much more. Versus the ancient origins, kind of like the Lloyd Pies and those guys, they have a very much more internalized and spiritual, like self-importance to the woo.
Spiritual. That's the key. That's where I've been trying to go with this whole conversation, and I didn't want to be the one to bring it up. But
I will. Okay.
yeah, that's really what it comes down to me. Is it's really almost like a cleric and their church of woo, and there are certain people who are allowed to be clerics of the church of woo, and everybody else just kind of has to shut up and sit down in the pews and kneel and stand and pray when they're told to, or you get expelled from the church of woo.
Well, see, and the problem arises. I'm just going to do this. I'll take this for Jeff. Is the clerics in the church of woo, if you will, all have their chapter or their book or their version of the woo, which to me is problematic. Like people who are creating media out of this, like we're doing this like totally transparently, like yeah, we're doing a freaking podcast and we just talk about these sort of things and we have our own opinions and it's an opinion show. I have an opinion, I'm going to give it to you. This is
right.
What I'm doing right now.
Talk show.
yeah, exactly. If I'm wrong, I'll probably admit it later, but but anyway, like a lot of these characters who are giving us this information and sharing these stories with us reference back to their books. Like, well, there was this experience, it's in my book, and I had this experience and it's in my book, and this person had this experience, it's in my book.
And it always comes back to that nasty 5-letter word, agenda. I think that's a 5-letter word. Might be 6.
OLLA. Like that, and that's a like something to really consider, because of this group, they're probably the most prolific, writers and purveyors. And like, it's one thing to write a novel, fantasy or whatever, but then to live it is another thing.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, and they are doing exactly that. They are living it. Van Daniken wrote a book way back when, and I call people getting Van Daniken all the time. They don't understand what I mean. Basically, there were like 1,000 question marks in the man's book that nobody bothered to read because they were questions that he was asking and then expounding upon his theories of the answers to those questions. Never once did he spout anything as fact. Okay, and that's where everybody jumped on the Van Daniken wagon and beat the man into like professional oblivion, because he spouted off all these things as fact, and he was just saying, let's think about these things, let's ponder the questions at hand. And that's what these people don't do. They don't ask questions. By God, there's no questions in the world of woo. There are only facts, and these are the way it is, and if you don't believe this way, then you need to go find other people to talk to.
And fact should be checked in the dictionary, and I don't even need it to be scientific fact, but just the definition of the word fact should be checked in the, before you say this is fact. This is an experience. Again, ghost hunters will always say, I had an experience.
And a personal experience.
It was like, a personal experience, and it was like this. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to have that personal experience. If I do, I might even you can misidentify personal experiences. And that goes, again, both ways. It's kind of like that, each coin has two sides, which might not even, either side might not be the truth. Because we can't experience it the way that we're supposed to experience it because of some outside thing. But I mean, to have this interdimensional psychokinetic,
mind zapping.
Telekinetic, phase shifting, interdimensional shifting, possibly UFO friending Sasquatch is, for me, to take it all in is you have to take about 5 different concepts and just throw them away and make that work all together. If that's the case, mental stability? I'm more than willing to say, holy crap, my entire universe was wrong. That's happened before, but not on such a grand scale to make that Sasquatch viable.
And the one last thing I kind of wanted to point out on the whole topic of woo is the woo people will lead you to believe that these are benign, loving, all-knowing, safe creatures to be around. I don't know any of the woo people who talk about murderous, killing, women raping, children eating Bigfoot. They're always of peaceful mind and sound body and like to sit around and sing Kumbaya around the campfire. Now, that's all well and good for them. But realistically, people, things that live in the woods are not peaceful, Kumbaya singing animals who want to come and dance by your firelight at night. Okay, so take any advice you want to from this particular podcast as far as our particular views on the woo, and you can ask David. We have tried for over a year to have these people come on and talk to us about it and have conversations with them, and we've gotten nowhere. So the time has just finally come for us to delve into these experiences now.
We got to do our opinion by ourselves. I'd like to expand on something that Jeff said, a little bit, with the benign Sasquatch. A lot of the woo people are the same people that are some of the forest people types that say, no, this is a person, this is a human being, they're a person, they're sapient and all of these other things. So if Sasquatch can do these things and is a people, they're like no other people that the planet has ever seen, and that makes them basically not a people. It's like either they're supernatural, extraterrestrial, or a freaking monkey.
Right, or they're like
I'm gonna piss people off by saying that. They're either an ET or they're a monkey. Or they're probably something that's closely related to us, and they can't. It's not either of the two, right?
Right. They're that half step off from where the hell, they could be one step short of being human. I sat, me, I sit around and watch the Bigfoot documentaries all the time. And the last topic I wanted to bring up for tonight, that's pretty much going to close us out. Oh, wait, just a moment. I'm getting a message. The Sasquatch people would like you to know that we're going to continue the conversation in this topic again next week. And David is supposed to tell us the guy's name because I sure as hell can't pronounce it.
We're going to go a little bit deeper down into the Kawani Laspercitis or Lepercitis. I have to actually see it in front of me to be able to pronounce it.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I don't know why these things are playing. It's just got a mind of its own all of a sudden. It's just like, hey!
Sasquatch is putting buttons in your computer.
Yeah, now we've got to get to the last topic at hand, and of course that would be When Roger Met Patty. Bill Munn's finally released his book this week. I want to say it was the 1st or the 2nd of August. And I have been through the entire thing. I can be proud to say that I have read Bill Munn's new book, When Roger Met Patty. And if you're looking for a proponent side of the story, it's a fantastic book. It really is. If you've never looked into the story of the Patterson-Gimlin film and why the believers follow it and still believe that is a real Bigfoot walking out there and not one-eyed Bob Hieronymus in a football helmet, wearing hip waders and an old cowhide, as he puts it, it's just, the book is a later study of the last 6 or 7 years of what he's been doing with documenting that film. Did you get a chance to peruse it there, David?
I got a quick chance. I got it, downloaded it. It's available. It's out there.
It's on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon.com for digital download, just like we did.
And went through it, and for me, it's a bunch of pages. Like, again, I haven't gotten really into it. It's a lot of pages on that's not a guy in a suit. That's same argument. That
is very true.
But he is like the leading expert in that's not a guy in a suit. So there's a lot of good work in there, and it was interesting.
Right, and I got to tell you, I've been to the site. We had Doug Hudson on the show that would tell you getting a minute 12 of a guy in a suit walking along a unprepared creek bed after a flood is, probably never going to happen in modern times, let alone happening in 1967. But that doesn't seem to be good enough for the people who say, that's a guy in a suit. We know it's a guy in a suit. Look, it's already been proved that it's a guy in a suit. I'm putting out a challenge. I'm absolutely putting out a challenge to the people who balk at it. I say, you know what? Come up to the Bluff Creek Project Spring Expedition next year and prove that it's a guy in a suit. I want to see anybody walk that path that Patty walked, even today after it's been cleared by the project members so that this study could go on, wearing 25 pounds, doesn't even have to be of a Bigfoot suit. Let's put you in a monkey suit and a pair of clown shoes. Let's cover one of your eyes because Bob only had one eye, and let's see if you can make it through the place without falling over top of yourself every 20 steps. There's the challenge that's out there. 25 pounds worth of suit weight, whether it be a monkey suit or whatever, clown shoes, one eye with a hood on, with the mask on. And let's see if you can walk that minute and 12 through the Bluff Creek, what's left there after it's been cleared. And then I'll still call you a dumbass.
Exactly. I'm not doing it, by the way. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, well, I've walked the path, but I'm not getting in the monkey suit with the clown shoes and the one eye with the mask on. That's just, I'd fall on my face. I had a hard enough time walking through there with my crippled butt as it was, and I got I had a staff with me and everything. It's not an easy place to be, people. I mean, I know the Scothics want to say, it's not our job to prove that it wasn't a hoax. Well, yeah, kind of at this point, after 45 years of nobody being able to prove that it's a guy in a suit and we're still talking about it, you kind of do have to prove that it's a guy in a suit because we can't show you any more data on how it's not a guy in a suit. I think Bill has finally nailed the coffin in that says if your people can't accept it at this point, well then find a new hobby.
Exactly.
I hear trolls are a big thing people are looking for these days. I don't know what to tell you, people, but please stop coming into the Bigfoot groups and trolling post after post after post about 10-year-old JREF arguments that guys who were talking out of their ass hardly even know. There's one guy on the Bigfoot forums who says that he's a special effects master and that he can reproduce the suit for like under $200 and it'd be easy to do. Do it. Okay, show us how easy it is. Put your money where your mouth is and come out with a suit that's already made. Rent one. I know a guy who will rent one to you. Rent a suit and come out and show us that it can be done instead of just saying that you can do it. Because I heard a lot of people say a lot of stuff that, yeah, good try. At this point, I don't know what to tell you. There's a whole lot of backstory confusion, and Steven Strayford's is doing his best to try and keep the story straight at Bigfoot Books. If you have, go and look at the BFRO stuff and the Bluff Creek Project stuff, and you just can't really understand it past that. Go lay some boots on the ground. Maybe that'll help you out.
Exactly. Get out there. Talk to the people who know what's going on, and if it's the woo folk, show us, help us.
Yes, help us, help you. That's right. We're here at the Squatcher Sound Podcast trying to get you out there to help us, help you. That's right. We just need a little explanation between the enhanced and the super enhanced. Ralph, if anybody out there, including Dr. Meldrum, can help us clue in why people stand behind this picture, we would love to hear your comments and the stories.
Manamana.
Yeah, so that's the show tonight, guys. I mean, it's been a fun week. We're gonna get into Kwani next week. I mean, this guy has got a message that you should not miss. I mean, message after profounding from the Sasquatch people that you won't want to miss, and that's gonna be on next week's podcast. The Squatchcation is on its way, David.
I'm excited, man. This is going to be good.
Dude, we are lining up some really cool places to go bigfooting. We're not announcing anything yet because we don't want people screwing with us. I got news for you. If you show up where I'm bigfooting to mess with me, you're probably going to go away broken. Just putting it out there, it's just not really a good idea to mess with people who are seriously trying to investigate something to find out what's going on. So if you do know where I'm going and you're thinking about anything stupid, I carry a big stick and know how to use it. David, man, I can't wait. I saw that Stacy Brown is going to be at the Hopsquatch talking this week.
This week, yes. I'm not going to be able to make that one, but it's going to be good.
Yeah, for sure, man. Gunnar Munson of Sasquatch Coffee. You see the Sasquatch Coffee up over behind me in the Bluff Creek Project picture from behind me. SasquatchCoffee.com. He's trying to really vamp up. He's looking for 5,000 members, and he's got like 4,700. So get out there and get it going. Guys, that's going to do it for us this week on the podcast. For the Father David Batdorf and myself, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, we want to thank you for watching the Squatchers Lounge podcast, Season 2, Episode 30. And may the Squatch be with you. May the woo be with you too. It'll be okay. Can't we all just get along? Free Reverend Jeff! Hey, if you're a member of the Bigfoot community, everybody should protest for me.